Hey guys, so for number 24, we're going to solve the equation by factoring. So in order to factor this equation, we can use three different methods or even more if we know any more. And it's up to you whether you want to do whichever way you want to do it. So let's go over just a couple of factoring methods. So feel free to skip ahead to go to each individual method if you don't want to watch the whole video. First and foremost, let's go over the grouping method. So in the grouping method, we are going to have to figure out a way to get 4 terms instead of 3, which we have here. So we're starting out with x squared minus x equals 56. First thing we're going to do is get the 56 over to the left-hand side, and we're going to do that legally by subtracting it from both sides. So we're going to end up with x squared minus x minus 56 equals 0. Now we have 3 terms on the left-hand side, and to use the grouping method or the AC method, we're going to make that 4 terms. So it's called the AC method because you grab the A and the c, which refers back to the ax squared plus bx plus c form. So here our a is 1, and our c is negative 56. 1 times negative 56 is negative 56. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to make 56, that also add together to make the b term, which is negative 1. In order to find the appropriate values, we first look at the factors of negative 56. So we have 1 and negative 56, we have 2 and negative 28, we have 4 and negative 14, and then we have 7 and negative 8. We also have the factors with the negative going the other way, so negative 1 and positive 56, negative 2 and positive 28, negative 4 and positive 14, and negative 7 and 8. Out of all those factors, we're looking for the pair that also adds up to be negative 1. So that's going to be here, the 7 and the negative 8. So let's go ahead and plug those in appropriately. So we have positive 7, negative 8, and those are going to be our second values for our binomial. So we're going to have plus 7 over here, and then we're going to have negative 8 over here. And now because this x squared has a coefficient of just 1, we're going to go ahead and split that x squared into our binomials. So the factored version of x squared minus x minus 56 equals 0 is going to be x plus 7 times x minus 8 equals 0. Now, because I have all the factors set equal to 0, I can use the zero product property, which states that I can set each factor equal to 0. So over here, when I solve for x, I'm going to have x equals negative 7, and here I'm going to have x equals positive 8. And those are going to be my two answers for number 24. Secondly, the trial and error method is going to be very similar to the AC method or the grouping method. So we're going to start out with what we have, the x squared minus x equals 56. First and foremost, we're going to get this 56 and get it over to the left-hand side. And we're going to do that legally by subtracting it from both sides. So we're going to have x squared minus x minus 56, and that's going to be set equal to 0. Now in the trial and error method, we're going to multiply the first coefficient here and the third coefficient here. So here we have 1 times negative 56, which gives us negative 56. And we're going to try to find factors that multiply to make negative 56 that also add to make negative 1. So we have 1 and negative 56, we have 2 and negative 28, we have 4 and negative 14, and then we have 7 and negative 8, and we also have the sign going the other way, negative 1 and positive 56, negative 2 and positive 28, negative 4 and positive 14, and negative 7 and positive 8. So the factors that add up to be negative 1 that also multiply to make negative 56 are going to be the 7 and the negative 8. So we're going to write our two bubbles because if we have a trinomial and it's factorable, it will always factor into two binomials. Since this x squared has a coefficient of 1, we're going to split that into our x here and our x here. And then we're going to go ahead and plug in our plus 7 and our negative 8. Now, in order to try to see if this works, we're going to go ahead and multiply these two numbers together. So the 7 and the x giving us 7x, and then these two numbers, x and negative 8, giving us negative 8x. And then we're going to add those two together, and this is going to give us negative 1x. Now, because this negative 1x matches what we have here, negative 1x, therefore we have the correct factors. And now we can go ahead and use the zero product property to set each factor equal to 0. Because zero product property states that when you have all the factors set equal to 0, you can set each factor equal to 0. So over here you're going to have x equals negative 7 and x equals positive 8. And that is going to be our two answers for number 24. Last but not least, here we have the Berry method, and we're going to write down our equation, x squared minus x minus 56. First and foremost, we're going to get this 56 over to the left-hand side, and we're going to do it legally, so we're going to subtract 56 from both sides. So on the left-hand side, we're going to have x squared minus x minus 56, and then here on the right, we're going to have 0. So here in the Berry method, we're going to use a series of tricks that are going to end up with the right answer, but they're not really going to make much sense. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and write our two parentheses. And because we have a coefficient of 1 here, we're going to write 1x here and 1x here. If we had a coefficient of 2, we would write 2x here and 2x here. I know that doesn't really make sense, but that's one of the tricks for the Berry method. So now we're going to write the factors of 56. Not negative 56, just 56. Now, because here we have a negative, we're going to look for factors that have a difference of 1. So the coefficient here is just 1, which is what we're looking for. This negative we're not paying attention to just yet. So the factors of 56 that have a difference of 1 is 7 and 8. So we're going to write the highest value in our first parentheses and the other value in our second parentheses. Now, because this is a negative, we're going to bring that down here as a negative, and then we're going to ask ourselves, what does this sign have to be multiplied to create this sign over here, which is also a negative? So a negative times what gives us another negative? Well, it's going to be a positive. So that positive is what we write here. And there are our factors for the Berry method. If this had a coefficient that wasn't 1, then we would go ahead and do something else here. We would actually simplify and then cancel out. But we don't have a coefficient greater than 1. Our coefficient is 1. So here we are complete for the Berry method. The next thing we have to do is go ahead and solve. So let's go ahead and bring down our equals 0 and then use the zero product property rule that states if we have the factors set equal to 0, we can set each factor equal to 0. So here we're going to have x equals 8 when we solve for x, and here we're going to have x equals negative 7. And those are our answers for number 24.